Well here. Hello. So today we're going to be talking all about outsourcing and hiring a VA. And our expert today is Adrienna McDermott, and she'll be popping on any second now. So I'm really excited to introduce her to all of you guys. It's going to be an absolute blast, but this is the only the second live that we have done like recording and on Clubhouse. So bear with us if we make any mistakes. We will try our very best not to. There's my friend. How are you, Adrienna? Oops, I just pushed her down to the audience. Well, that was helpful. That was really helpful. Adrienna, come back up. I'm so sorry. I do that all. Absolutely. I just told everyone that you were on a client call, and I figured that you were going to be a couple seconds late, but I always like to start as soon as possible just to get everybody on here. But why don't you go ahead and go on to Instagram Live, and I can go ahead and join you. In the interim, while she's coming on here, I'm going to go ahead and introduce her. So full disclosure, once again, we are going to be on Instagram Live and Clubhouse at the same time. So anyone that is concerned about having your voice recorded, you can go over to Instagram and ask your question via text. I'm totally cool with that. I like to be very upfront and honest that this is being recorded for our Instagram Live. And you can go to Instagram, Jen Vasquez Coach, and that's 2 Z's, VAZQUEZ Coach, or at Ava and the Bee, which is our sweet friend Adriana's agency. So you can go to either or. Once she gets on, you'll be able to watch her there too. Because it's live. When things are live, stuff goes crazy. You can try without them because I can hear you really well. My only concern is getting that feedback, which doesn't sound so fun. No problem. So let me go ahead and introduce you to everyone so everyone knows the expert that you are. I was surprised by some of your background, so I'm really excited to know it. So Adrienna McDermott of Ava and the Bee was a former wedding pro turned marketing expert. She's a former wedding planner, a former wedding florist, a former bridal boutique owner turned digital marketer. And she started her wedding industry experience over a decade ago, which is surprising. She looks so young. She fell in love with the industry in high school, and at 23, she co-opened a bridal boutique, wedding planning, and florist company in Savannah, Georgia. My friend, Adrienna, you're amazing. She's an expert at all things weddings, from what brides love to what vendors love. Obviously, if you're a wedding pro, working with her would be amazing because she literally understands it all. She is an ISFJ, but more ambivert, which I literally don't know what that means, but she can explain that to us. She's an Enneagram 9 with a wing. Let me go ahead and invite her. Whoops, where are you? Yes, you are. You're in both spots. As soon as you pop up on Instagram, I did send you the, yay, it worked. I get so excited.
Yay. Okay, cool. I got my backup headphones because my AirPods were not charged enough, but
I know how that is. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick picture. Okay, good. So she's an Enneagram 9 with a wing 1, and she's a 5-4-6-5 on the Colby. Please help me with a very, very warm welcome to Adrienna McDermott. Yay! I'm so excited. I have been wanting to pick your brain for a long time. We already have Julie up here who's excited to ask some questions, but of course I want to start because I'm very excited, and I'm going to be a tiny bit selfish and ask some questions from her first. But definitely, like Julie, if you're on Clubhouse, raise your hand. And if you're on Instagram Live, just go ahead and put your question in the little question button on the bottom right. I want to encourage everybody, whether you're on Clubhouse or Instagram, please, please, please ask your questions. This is literally the opportunity to ask whatever you want when it comes to outsourcing and VA from this expert in our wedding field. So how are you?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, okay. I can hear
you
on
both. Make sure that headphones are like awesome. All right, I'm ready then.
Yay. So tell me how you got started in the wedding industry and what prompted your move to open an agency. I've already in the introduction talked about the fact that you were like loving this industry in high school, started at 23 and opened your own bridal boutique with someone else. But like, what prompted you to make the move from the wedding industry to digital marketing?
Oh, I love that. So yeah, so I've been working in the industry for since high school, and I'll admit the reason I got into this was burnout. While my senior year in college, I'm opening a bridal shop, right? Like I'm taking out a ton of money in loans. I'm like scouting spots, like totally not what, most people do at that age. And I think by the time I was 27, I had been in the industry for 10 years, right? Like I started working at weddings when I was 17. I started working in shops at 16. Like I never had a weekend off. Like I was never the girl in college who went out on weekends. I was the girl in college who's at a wedding at a weekend. Like that was me. So I was a weekend warrior for already a very long time by the time I was in my mid-20s. And I honestly just hit burnout. I was like, I love the industry, but I can't do weddings anymore. I cannot be at a boutique until 6 p.m. and then at a wedding till 1 a.m. and then rinse and repeat 7 days a week. Like something's got to give. So I actually sold my shares of the bridal boutique. There was another owner. I sold my part to her. And I kind of got into this whole VA thing, honestly, by accident. I actually got a job at a law firm doing like community social management. So I did their events because I needed a 9 to 5, right? I needed health insurance. Like struggle was real, right? And I got into this because I just had friends in the industry be like, hey, you built your website, you learned SEO, you did all the blogging, you did all of this, the Pinterest, the marketing, the blah, blah, blah. And you were good at it. Can you do it for me? And I was like, wait, you'll pay me? Like, this is a real job? And it was. And my first few clients are dear friends who I'm still clients with now years later. And yeah, it just really started because I saw the need. And I had, oh my gosh, I say this all the time. I had no idea this would be a job 4 years later, that I'd still be I have an office and a team and we write all this stuff because at the time it was really just working with people I loved, right? It was an industry I loved. It was stuff I already knew how to do. And so I just did it. And I became booked out within 3 months. It replaced my full-time income. Within 6 months, I was quitting my job. I was like, I'm making more money freelancing than I am at a 9 to 5. And yeah, here we are. We have a team that's growing and it's, yeah. And I just fell into it because I just had friends be like, hey, do this for me. And I was like, sure, pay me, I'll do it.
Well, you're in that golden triangle of information for wedding pros because you understand the other side of it, right?
Yeah.
And you understand the digital marketing and you understand how to get that information out there, right? From a digital marketing perspective, but also in a way that wedding pros understand and appreciate, right? So yeah, anybody who needs help. So why should we outsource?
You're muted on Clubhouse.
Oh, of course I am. Okay, better.
I looked really quick and I was like,
thank you. I told myself, don't forget that. And I did. Why should we outsource? And how can it help our business? So I'm going to give you information that I hear from my friends in the wedding industry all the time. And I'm a wedding photographer as well as doing Pinterest work. So I have that same sort of like knowledge bubble. And so of course I get all the complaints, right?
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So what I hear, especially right now, we had like very little to no income last year. This year, leading up to this year, we booked and booked and booked and booked to try to A, bring money in, and B, be able to overcome maybe the deficit from last year, right? Like we're like doing it up. And now that we're here, we're like, what was I thinking? I'm out of control doing 2 and 3 weddings in a weekend. Like it's out of control. And then you say, oh, well, if you need help outsource, they're like, I don't have time to go pee, let alone outsource. So tell me a little bit about why we maybe should outsource and how it can help our businesses. And especially right now, right?
Yeah.
This is that peak of crazy that we could really stand to use some help.
Yeah, for sure. So, gosh, where do we begin, right? There's
I know.
great reasons to outsource, but I think a lot of it really just comes down to knowing your strengths in your business, right? So what are you, sorry, I'm just having a slight echo on my end. I'm just gonna.
You just have to, if you push it farther away from you,
Yeah,
that's usually
I know, I'm just like inching it slower away where you can still hear
and we
me.
just won't mute at all. That's what I'm figuring.
Cool. So is really thinking about what are your strengths in your business, right? We all have strengths and weaknesses. What are the things you love to do? And what are the things you're just not super good at or just hate doing? Like, that's the beauty of outsourcing, is that you no longer have to do it all in your business. Like, gone are those days where you have to wear 17,000 hats. Like, you don't have to anymore. You can find people that you can easily outsource these items to that are important and you know are important, but are just not your zone of genius, right? My friend says it all the time, like, what's your zone of genius? Like in my business, my zone of genius is writing. It's not accounting. I outsource accounting, right? So I think what's incredible is that we're at that season where it's okay, I think, to also it's just say, hey, that's not my zone of genius. This person's really great at it. So why wouldn't I just go ahead and give it over to someone who's going to take better care of it, right? Because if we wear all of those hats, things fall. We drop balls all the time. Like it's this constant, like, oh man, I forgot to do this. I forgot to do that. Like everything piles up. And so even when you're in that busy season, and I totally get it. I'm getting married in a few days. There is such a beauty in knowing that stuff in your business is going to get done the right way. Right? You're not going to have to try to figure it out on your own. You're not going to have to try 17 ways to do it and then hope one of them works. You can outsource to someone, regardless of what you're outsourcing, that's going to be able to take care of that. And that's going to allow you to focus on where your attention needs to be at a wedding, right? Maybe it is to take a 5-minute pee break. Like that's where your focus should be, right? You shouldn't be trying to be on getting video for your IGTV or whatever. You should go to the bathroom, like have someone on your team do that. So I think there's just a lot of beauty in the fact that we are allowed to kind of do that. You have
and I also think, because when I started outsourcing, and I've been a wedding photographer since 2009 and running my coaching business since 2018, I just now hired a VA 3 months ago because I'm a control freak. And let me be the first to say, I was so dumb. I wish that I outsourced sooner. But because I'm a control freak, I'm like, she's going to do this, this, and this, right?
Yeah.
And what I found was, because I wanted to hang on to the things I liked and found enjoyable in work and give her the things I hated. But there's certain things that need your voice or that need your personal attention, like your client experience. Maybe emails could be something you can outsource, but like getting on the phone with someone, they want to talk to you. They don't want to talk to somebody you've outsourced to, right? So there are things that I find that are really important to keep. And I loved making graphics and felt that I was good at it. I was wrong, but I thought I was good at it. And I wasn't going to outsource that. That's what I've been outsourcing, and I'm getting compliments on the graphics. I'm like,
they look great. What you sent me were gorgeous. I was like, wow, this is like a gift. Like, what's happening?
Because I outsourced it. Like that's the honest truth. And can I do it? Do I love doing graphics? Yes, but I spend too much time. Right? I could be writing a blog, which is way and far more important for me, for my business, than to be creating graphics, right? So everyone always says outsource what you hate or what you don't have time for, but sometimes it's pieces that you maybe enjoy, but that they're going to do a better job than you because that's what they do day in and day out. So have an open mind is all I'm trying to say from a closed-minded business owner. I'm just going to put it out there, call myself out. Okay, so we've got a budget and we've decided to outsource. We said, okay, I'm going to outsource. How should we be prepared? I will go over how to hire someone and questions and all that kind of stuff, but like, how should we prepare before we end up hiring someone so that it is something that is easy to like get started right away?
Yeah. Oh gosh, I have so many notes on this, but so it kind of I think when you're first getting started and you've kind of decided this, I think to prepare is to first think about what are those really urgent tasks? What are the items? Because yes, can you outsource 45 things? Yes. Will you be overwhelmed if you outsource them all? Yes. That's one of the biggest mistakes that you probably see too, right? Is they outsource and they're like, I'm just going to throw a bunch of stuff. Well, the problem with that is there is still some back end, right? It's still your business. So I always encourage people, think of and talk to your, VAs about this. What are the most important things that are going to move the needle now, right? Is it because it might be something different than you think. It might turn out that you're super behind because you don't have systems in place, right? You don't have a streamlined system. You don't have automated emails. You don't have a CRM. There might be some things that you don't realize are actually what's in your way. So always kind of make a note of what isn't working, what is holding me back, and let's focus on those first. Because while we can tackle 17 things later, we got to tackle what's actually in your way immediately, because you're going to see those results a lot faster. So while you might want to be like, I want to outsource all my Instagram and my Pinterest and my blogging and this and that, you're going to be overwhelmed. And what happens is then they're like, oh, I had a bad VA. No, you just weren't ready. Like, you just were not ready for this because you did not realize that throwing the kitchen sink at someone doesn't actually fix the problem. So my first step is to kind of get that list and be open and transparent with the person you're looking to outsource. Ask them, what do you think is in my way, right? Because I'll tell you, I'll tell you what I think is in your way, even if it's not something I offer. I can say, hey, before you even work with my business, let's get this fixed. And then we can talk marketing strategy, right? Because a lot of times you just want to throw money at a marketing strategy, but a lot of times that's not actually the thing that has to get fixed. And you're like, that's actually not your problem. Your problem is XYZ. So have that open. And really when it comes to like time, it's going to cost some money to do all of this. And I think it's important to say that is that a good virtual assistant is going to be like $20 to $40 an hour if they're hourly. Packages are going to start at the couple $100 mark, right? In my business, it's minimum, our base package is like $500. And I know at first people are like, no, that $500, imagine if you paid someone to do $500 worth of work, it would take you 5,000.
Yes. And you're not working in your zone of genius, which
so you take way longer.
Right? So it's going to take way longer and it's probably not going to be as good. I'm just going to put it out there, right?
Yeah. So definitely keep in mind that if the more you outsource, the more it's going to cost, but also keep in mind of those things that maybe what you think needs to be done right away isn't actually the most important. So have an open mind when you talk to people. And if it is something else that you can outsource down the road, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. But just know that sometimes that initial thing isn't exactly, that's kind of an overview, but I have tips for like specifics if we want to dive.
We're gonna dive into all of it. I'm getting questions in here on Instagram, and we've got stuff. How do you find people to outsource to? Right? Do you have some place that they can go to see a list of people, or do you have what is your advice?
Yeah, so definitely one of the biggest things is I always suggest to start with just asking around, right? Like ask in your local Facebook group, your local networks, who people use, right? Because the biggest, like in our business, a lot of ours is referral. It's like, hey, you work with so-and-so, I love them, they referred you. So I would start with like your local, we know every wedding group has a Facebook group now, let's be honest. Every city, county has one. Start there, say what you think you need, and go with referrals. If that doesn't, work out for any reason, if there's not a ton of interest in that, definitely maybe start, asking people outside of your local group. Maybe DM a few people. Another thing is definitely, obviously, Instagram. If you just search the hashtag virtual assistant, create a virtual assistant, you're going to get like 10,000 options. I will say slight plug, I have a course where I teach people how to become creative virtual assistants.
I saw that on your website, hence the question.
So I have a course. So what we do in our business is when people reach out, we also have a referral of, it's over 200 students. So
great.
I will find someone if we can't do it. But I would say, you know, outside of just DMing me and saying, hey, help, ask around, get some good referrals is kind of the best, I think, place to start is people in your area.
And just a heads up, I know that we're going to get a lot of people on here that are looking to maybe get into that VA situation. Tell us just a couple things. This is not in a sales way. I'm just putting it out there on Instagram. And this was not a setup. I legit have gotten these questions on Instagram and in my DMs. So I want to make sure to ask this. What are a few things that your course helps them with so that if somebody is really interested in becoming a VA, why should they invest in this course? Like, how is that going to help them?
Yeah, so I created the course because I didn't see anything out there for us creatives, right? Nothing was out there talking about how to onboard a blogging client. Everyone was like, I don't know, what's blogging? So the course teaches, this was our final week right now that the students are in, and then we have like a little break before the next session. But it really truly covers every single thing from starting your business, the legalities, the stuff you got to have in place that so many people don't, because the amount of DMs I get of people being like, someone wants to book me, but I don't have a contract, invoice, blah, blah, blah. We cover everything from your vision and turning your vision of what you think you want to do, how it relates into a business sense, how different services, packages. I break down hundreds of packages in detail, what you can include. Like I tell you what to do. And then it goes through how to onboard clients, how to find clients, how to discover clients, how to onboard them, how to work with them, et cetera, et cetera.
And
it's
so
everything you need.
And so if a wedding pro or anyone for that matter, not just wedding pros, but if anybody is like, I really need a VA, I think it's like in this area, they could send you a DM and you would probably have a student that you know would be really great in terms of a fit and things like that. So I was a recruiter for many years. So that's what it sounds like to me is like, you know the personalities, you know the background, and you know who would make a good fit. So perfect.
We have all of that. I have a little spreadsheet that I go into and I go, I find the right person.
So what are some questions that we can ask ourselves to know when we're ready to outsource, or some questions to like know that we're ready to outsource? Because I know a lot of people talk about outsourcing, but there is a time investment that you do have to put in. You have to give feedback. If you're a person that's uncomfortable giving feedback, it's going to be difficult to get a fabulous person, because even with the best person, they're not going to be a mind reader. And so we have to actually verbally express once something comes back, how it could be even better. And you can do that in a very nice way. And let me be honest, and I'm sure you'll agree, but tell me what your thoughts are. As a VA or a person that gets things outsourced to, if you don't let us know, we can't be amazing.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. I wish I was a mind reader. Like if I could have any power.
And I'm on the edge. I'm almost to mind reading, but not quite.
Yes, like if they were like, okay, here's gonna be your superpower, I would be like, oh, I'd obviously be a mind reader, so I knew what to do.
Yes.
But the thing is, we're not. So I think definitely knowing to give feedback is huge, right? You need to be able to say, hey, here's some adjustments we need to make. And like, I know in our business, and we're like, sweet, yeah, tell us, like, how would this be more to you or whatever. So you need that time. So in terms of like how much time, it obviously is just going to depend on the items. But I always think like if you don't have 5 hours to 8 hours in a week to get stuff ready to outsource, it's probably not a good time. That might need to wait until after wedding season.
Successful.
To be successful.
You could muddle through it, but no, it's going to be even harder because you're not ready. Yeah,
because there's going to be things like onboarding questionnaires. Like we have to get to learn you and your business, and the only way is to ask you questions, right? Like I have no way of knowing your exact target market. I can do a really good job of guessing and get really close.
Yes.
But there's always going to be that tiny little piece that I don't realize is a thing, right? Because it's just like very custom to you.
Well, and there's a piece where a wedding pro knows their ideal client, but in conversations that you have with them, there's some things that we'll pick up on that you won't even know that
Yes.
you would make it more enjoyable to work with that ideal client. And
Yes.
you're not, and they're not even thinking about that. And that comes from the experience of having outsourced things.
Exactly. So I think in terms of time, when you know, is just when things are kind of falling through the cracks. Things aren't getting done that need to get done. And you're entering, maybe you know you have an upcoming season, right? So maybe you're like, okay, November and December are going to be huge for whatever reason, right? The time to start outsourcing is now. The time is not in November. The time is to always think of this as a few months ahead of time, because you want to make sure you're able to give that feedback. So if we start working with a client, you know, in a few months, we know their voice so well that it just rolls, right? You're not going to have to read every single blog we write because you're going to be like, it's great, I love it. That doesn't, I mean, sometimes it happens on the first blog, but sometimes it might take a few tweaks, right? Like a few language tweaks, a few understandings. So if you're not ready to do that, it's probably not the time, and you should wait until after. But if you're like looking at your calendar and you're like, oh my gosh, 2022, which I can't say out loud, it scares me. 2022 is coming. It's like my March is about to be crazy. You need to have someone in place by January. If your
Yeah, and we're going crazy right now. So I want to put out right now for all of us wedding pros, make some time to find and hire a VA now, because I'm going to be super honest with you. And I know from speaking with Adrienna in the past that you're not going to have somebody who is experienced in weddings or wedding pros if you wait much longer, because I think everyone is getting booked out. Like it is, everyone's finally getting, and so if you're waiting until off season, right, that's probably not a smart thing to do right now.
I'm telling people as much as I can in the next month or so, start thinking about it, because personally, we're going to be booked up. Half my referrals are booked up already. Like, I love it when I get that email when a student is like, I'm booked. And I'm like, oh, okay, sweet. Got to move to the next one. But yeah, we're also getting booked, right? Because we can't take on 7,000 clients. Like, we have to be smart with our business. So yeah, definitely start looking into it now, even if you know it's not till January. That's fine. Getting someone locked in now, it's really not too early. We have clients that are inquiring for us for next year because they're like, I can't think about it right now, but I'm telling you that I would rather have someone booked in now so I can go through my busy wedding season, and then in January we can, you know, sit together and figure out the strategy.
Yes, I totally agree with that. So just as a heads up, if you have a question, put it in the question button on the bottom right corner if you're on Instagram, or go ahead and raise your hand. I've got more questions, but I'm going to get to Julie because she was so sweet to pop up like immediately with her question.
I'll also open up my Instagram on my laptop too, so if anyone DMs me, I'll have them up too.
Yeah. So Julie, go ahead and unmute and ask your question. I'll repeat it for Instagram, and then we'll have Adrienna answer. Julie? So Julie, let me just repeat real quick. So Julie said it was really good advice that Adrienna talked about, hiring someone now versus waiting till not busy season, because she didn't think about that, and that was great. Go ahead. Sorry, Julie. That's a great question. Julie just asked, there's a lot out there. Pinterest, Instagram, blogging. There's just a lot to do. Like you could outsource your whole business. Let's just be honest. So she's wondering if Adrienna can answer, what is the best first piece to outsource? If there is a best first piece to outsource, like what order should you do it in? Because as we mentioned before, you're not going to throw everything at this new VA. Like there's no way that's going to be successful. So Adrienna, go ahead.
So yeah, Jen, I would love to hear your thoughts, but I think a lot of it comes down to there is no one size fits all. So while a lot of stuff will work for everybody, I always suggest take a look at your numbers. Where are people finding you, right? Where are they actually finding you? So I know like that's one of the reasons why I always tell people, make sure you have Google Analytics set up, guys, on your website, because like that is the first question I'm going to ask you as a client is, do you have Google Analytics? And can I see it? Because I'm obsessed with it. And the thing is, if the answer is no, that's fine. Damn me, we'll get, it's super easy to get.
We'll make sure you're claimed. We'll make sure that you're on there because that's needed.
Because that is what I'm going to look at, right? I'm going to want to see where your audience is truly finding you, because that's going to determine it, right? For some clients, it's going to be the bread and butter, right? It's going to be blogging and Pinterest because it's SEO. I mean, blogging is definitely one of those great ones because it's SEO focused, as is Pinterest. So those are two kind of easy starting points.
I would also say Instagram. So like, let's say you're someone who's not on Pinterest yet. I would start with Instagram or blogging, like one of those two for sure. Because what people don't realize is blogging works on Google. It also works on Pinterest. It also works on Instagram, because you can take a blog that Adrienna and her agency does for you, and you can make like 6 to 8 individual social media posts from it over time.
Repurposing is my middle name. I'm obsessed with it. Please, everybody, please do it.
That's my special skill too. That's my thing. So yeah, so I agree 100% with you, Adrienna. If you're marketing your business and you're not on Google Analytics, it's like driving blind, driving with a mask on. You're never going to be successful enough. And I always give this advice, and I know people who have heard me talk before are going to roll their eyes, but I'm going to say it again. When you say, oh, how did you find me? 90% of people are going to say Instagram. But the fact is, they may have seen your blog post when they were searching on Google for something. They may have seen you on Pinterest, but everybody is going to go to Instagram to make sure you're a real person. And they're not telling you how they found you when you ask that question. They're telling you where they were before they took that leap to ask you or contact you. So if you have a consultation, or if I'm not telling people to like write back immediately in the DMs, schedule the consultation, have a conversation with them, and then say, oh, by the way, did you find me on Instagram? Was it referral or did you use a hashtag? Because FYI, we want to know what that hashtag is and use it 18 million times more. But so yeah, so even if you think you know it's Instagram, it still may not be Instagram. So I think that's brilliant advice, Adrienna, to look at your Google Analytics and find where people are coming to your website from. Perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. So whenever you're doing that, that's kind of how we learn how to tackle, right? It's just, where are they coming from? And then we say, all right, based on where your clients are coming from, this is the strategy we should start with. So that's what I would recommend for you, Julie.
Julie, do you have Google Analytics for your website? No, actually, can I just say, so Julie just said no, but can I tell you that that's the best advice in the world? Because when I hear that people don't have Google Analytics, I go, OMG, they're going to see so much success by just looking at it. Your whole life will change once you get Google Analytics, because it's amazing. You can look up ways to sign up for Google Analytics on Google Analytics, on YouTube. You can contact Adrienna, contact myself. It is actually not difficult, but it's not super easy either. Sometimes you need a little bit of advice, and I'm sure either one of us would be happy to help you. And YouTube and Google are great help as well on like those how-to kind of things. I think you're going to be shocked because a lot of people tell me one thing and then we look at Google Analytics and it's something totally different. And they have like 5 blog posts over the last 10 months, and those are the things that are actually generating leads to their website and to getting contacted to hire a client than Instagram. But everyone's spending 80% of their time on Instagram. And that's just the way it is right now with social media. But I think you might be surprised. So definitely, and Adrienna would be great help for you, Julie. So definitely get in touch with her.
That sounds great. I can't wait to hear from you.
I love it. Of course. Anybody on Clubhouse that has a question, please raise your hand. We'll pull you up. I see Erin is on there. So 1 second, Erin. I do want to go to Instagram. Virtual._Rabaya says, how would you know if someone wants to outsource? Would you speak with them directly or build relationships through engagement strategy?
So I'm assuming this is like a VA.
From a VA question.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Yeah. So I would say whenever we're thinking of like strategy of like marketing to finding people, it really is just about helping and creating an authentic connection. So one thing that I like to do a lot that has worked well in our business is Facebook groups. I answer every question on Facebook groups. And I don't ever say, I'm also a marketing pro. I just simply answer questions. So I'm in a lot of wedding groups and I'll just answer. I'll just say, hey, like, this is like I do this for a living. This is my suggestion. And I think just naturally building that rapport is going to be really great. Instagram can be okay for like DMs. I personally find Facebook way better just because like if someone's asking a question and I have an answer, I'm just going to call it my answer, right? And you don't even have to like,
you don't have to say what you do. Yeah,
no.
I agree 100% with you because they're going to click on you and find out who you are.
Yes, exactly. They're going to easily figure out who you are and what you do. So that would be my suggestion is, you know, if you see your ICA, like your ideal client avatar out there asking a question, answer it. Shoot them a DM. Like I do that in my own business. If I see a wedding pro I follow and they're like question on this, I'll just DM and say, hey, like this is my opinion or like what I think. And that can just open up a conversation without me ever saying like, hire me. It's just like a casual, like, here's how I can help. I think that authentic connection and helping is really what can help grow your business faster than just cold DMs. That's just personal. Like,
yeah. And I think, and you can do the same thing on Clubhouse as well as Facebook. I think one thing that is, yeah. And one thing that you would say also, if we had, you know, an hour for that question, because I get that question a lot too. One thing I would also say is that if you put out good content on your Instagram and you in a graphic or an image of you like in the post or a reel would be even way more effective now. Answer those questions that you get a lot or that you hear a lot, because people will come across, or I call it stumble upon. People will stumble upon your information and go, oh, I had that question. That's a great answer. Who is this person, right? I think putting out good content as well as offering to answer without a big introduction of who you are and how you can help them, like non-salesy, right? My type of marketing, and I feel like it's the same for you, Adrienna, is more relationship building. We want to help. Like I have a passion in making sure every single business owner gets on Pinterest, and you have the same in terms of all of your agency work. And I feel like if you put out good content and you help people without expecting anything in return, that's where that sweet spot meets in terms of getting clients.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, yeah, that's how we try to do it in our business too, is make sure our Instagram is super informative, super educational. So that way it's just naturally answering questions that they have. They just don't realize they have it yet. Right? You're trying to get in there right before. You're like, you're going to ask this later.
And then we've got Erin Worthington, who is on Clubhouse, and she's a portrait and wedding photographer in Cleveland. Erin, go ahead and unmute and ask your question. I'll repeat it for Instagram, and then Adrienna will answer.
I just saw. I just saw. Oh,
wait.
Sorry.
So wait a second.
Sorry.
Erin Erin is taking Adrienna's course. So my assumption is she's a VA or becoming a VA. So there's two plugs there that she has not made that I'm making for her. One, how great Adrienna is and how great her course is. And two, she might be available for hire. So just a heads up. Were you just calling, were you just raising your hand to say how awesome Adrienna and her course is, or did you also have a question? Great. Yeah, Erin's talking. Erin's, hold on, Erin, real quick. I'm so sorry. I just don't want Instagram to have this pure quiet. Erin is a wedding photographer who wants to specialize her VA work in doing blog posts. So she's actually a wedding photographer that knows her business. So if you're a wedding photographer and you hate blogging as much as most wedding photographers I know, that's where she was looking to create her business because she has that unique experience. Go ahead, Erin. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Erin asked a really great question. As a photographer, it sounds like going to niche down into doing blogging for photographers, which I think is incredibly smart and probably some advice she probably got from that course. And so Erin is asking Adrienna, how would